All right, welcome to another episode of ABUJA File, where we catch up to speed with events, news, reports, and everything happening here in the FCT. And like you all know, my name is Sandra Ago. If you've been paying attention or if you've been following us through ABUJA File, you know that we've had one very interesting episode on real estate here and affordable housing here in the FCT. Today, we're going to have an episode relating to that, and with me in the studio is Femi Jubal again. And also in the studio with us today is Sheun Ambassador. But before we get to meet them, we'll go on a short break and we'll be right back. We love ABUJA, and this is why we bring you events, reports, interviews, and everything relating to the FCT. This is ABUJA File.
Accept the nomination of our party.
All right, welcome back, and I hope you were able to catch up with where we left you in regards to this particular conversation, affordable housing here in the FCT. But today, we're not just talking about affordable housing. We're going to touch a lot of things related to the FCT. Thank you so much for coming to the studio again, Mr. Femi.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And it's so good to meet you, Mr. Sheun. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
All right, I want to begin with Mr. Femi because we left off somewhere when we had the last conversation.
That massive session.
But before that, I'm going to remind our viewers that you said when we're talking about affordable housing, we also agreed that affordability is relative. And we made mention of some areas where people can go into when they want affordable housing here in the FCT. So we have a new landlord here in the FCT, in the person of Wike, and he has pointed out 30 places where demolitions are likely to happen in FCT. Where some of those places that you mentioned last time fall into that category. So what do you have to say in regards to that?
Actually, it wasn't the new FCT minister that pointed out these places.
It's just a reminder. He reminded people that now he's going to do it.
Exactly. This was something that was done by the previous administration, but they couldn't execute. So, and we all know the man called Wike. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, the truth is, if we look at this from the positive side, as it affects the ABUJA environment, it's going to reduce the rate of crime.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry to say this, a lot of people hide in those places, and so demolishing them is going to help figure out how to manage this crime that is growing at an exponential rate in Abuja. That's one. But a government that is sensitive, like I said the other time, would also find a way to give people a soft landing. Like, you don't just push them out. That's like where the people majority of the workforce in Abuja, that's where they live. So don't just demolish, push them out. Give them some, incentives, and so move them to other places. Okay. Those structures should be in place, before that is done.
All right. Let's quickly speak to Mr. Sheun. Let's get your own perspective of what you think, or what are your thoughts on housing here in FCT?
Like Mr. Femi said during the last interview, that there is so much overhyping of price simply because it's FCT. And I think the proactive thing to do is to the FCDA should ensure that the necessary bodies should ensure that people are not extorted, right? Because that's what a lot of people are doing. Something that didn't cost you more than 150 million to build, or 200 million to build. So you're putting it out there. You're saying it's for 450 million or 500 million. I mean, that's preposterous. And if that can be done, I mean, this is the FCT, Federal Capital Territory. This is the seat of administration, right? A lot of people are attracted to this place, right? And it's not like maybe they are so industrious that they are actually turning the resources and multiplying it, you know. The resources are mostly just consumed.
Yeah, also. Resourceful people.
You're saying the truth. How many industries we have here in FCT? When you do that in the industrial areas, you can actually count the number of
you know, so there has to be proactivity on that, you know, on the part of, you know, certain people. You know, the leadership has to be in the metropolis, right? Leadership, it is visionary leadership that pushes the trajectory of any climb to the next level, right? Being civilization conscious, right? You are conscious of moving, upgrading the civilization of your climb, right? And so there has to be a lot of work being done, not just people just sitting down and they're just collecting money, just sharing the national cake.
But there's this word out there on the street that people, there's this word out there, people say Abuja is the luxury city of Nigeria. So don't you think this has a role to play in people just waking up and hiking the fees or fares of their houses and hoping that since you're here for luxury, you have to pay the money?
Yeah, luxury is not a figment of someone's imagination. You know, there are elements that powers luxury, right?
Yeah.
Instead of using wood, you want to use titanium. That's what makes it luxury.
That brings us back to what Mr. Femi said during the last interview. He made mention of some people, you just build house and just because you put AC in the house, then it becomes luxury.
Exactly. The component of luxury, the element of luxury should be properly defined.
Exactly.
What makes it luxury? There are specific things in that property that makes it luxury, not just that it looks fine on the facade.
Doesn't make it luxury.
Is that what?
Air conditioning.
Exactly.
So what you're trying to say now is that it's not okay to just say that Abuja is the luxury city. So don't you think it's luxury enough?
No, it's not luxury enough. It's not just luxury for luxury's sake. It's not just luxury simply because it's not luxury. I mean,
You know, if within the context of what luxury is actually,
Okay.
because there are better houses in Lagos. Yeah, is it true? The real estate industry in Lagos is far ahead of the Abuja.
Absolutely.
In terms of quality, in terms of when you see.
Even when you take a look at places like Mitama.
Of course, you need to go to Banana Island and go to some of these Lekki housing estates and see what people are constructing there. So we need to first define. I think there is this mediocre approach in Abuja. I live here, so I've studied the environment. There is this mediocre approach, and not just the real estate industry. When you look at other areas, even entertainment, music. We're just having a discussion yesterday. An OAP in Abuja they don't have the proper consciousness to see themselves as, you know, sort of a god in their industry. They don't understand what it means to have a voice on radio. They don't know the power.
Yeah.
But Lagos OAPs, they are
Superstars.
They are superstars. So it boils down to there is this social consciousness in Abuja. There is this collective consciousness that promotes and rewards mediocrity. And that's fact. That's why we say there are many money misroad in Abuja.
Yeah.
You know.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So because I know that I'll just remind you that the basis of this question, like I mentioned in the last interview, is affordable housing in FCT. The question is it achievable? Because you made mention of the government building houses and relocating people to those places and all of that. Do you think it's achievable?
In every government, not just Nigeria, when you have cities, for instance, if you go to the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, the rent, the value of properties in Dubai is totally different from the value of properties in the outskirts of Dubai. So you always have those cities in every environment where you don't expect to have.
They have staff buses that will
take them there. So there are some structures that should be put in place that we don't have yet
for the workforce.
Like there are people can live
subsidized housing.
Gwagwalada. People should be able to live in Gwagwalada and not we run a caste system kind of, especially in Abuja. You know, we're also discussing yesterday that somebody who lives in Gwagwalada feels less than someone who lives in Wuse. It doesn't make any sense because. And that's where the government needs to come in because everybody will not live in the city.
Yeah.
That's why we need to have.
And it's not even healthy. City life, perpetual city life is not even healthy for your mental health.
Exactly.
It is. It's not.
True.
You know. And the thing about, I wanted to say something about the partnership between governments and developers. Governments, in a way, should it is government that champions affordable housing. It's not even individual developers. So there should be partnership between the government and the developers to come up with subsidized housing for the workforce. Because without the workforce, the economy is not run. So why are we now making it? Why are they making it look like the billionaires can do without the workforce? They can't.
Well, true. That's very true.
When you go to a place like Mitama at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., you see almost like it's like you're looking at the wave of the sea. People trooping in from Maraba from here 5:30, 6 a.m. These are the people that are running
the economy.
The economy here.
Exactly.
So we can't neglect them just because they can't afford this. And that's why I agree with Ambassador 100%. The government needs to come in. There's something like that they've been doing. A lot of developers, let's give them some credit in Abuja. They've built a lot of infrastructures.
Yeah.
You see a lot of places in Abuja now have tag roads. It is not the government, it is the developer. So and I think that they said government gives them some incentives. Okay, we'll waive this, we'll waive this.
Okay.
But governments need to do more because the developers are business people. They are not building the houses for the masses. They are building it for their own customers. So the value can increase.
Building it to make money.
So the government can now say that,
generate profit.
Like they are moving. Wike is about to unleash Wikeism in Abuja now. So you have over 30 places that he
has mentioned. Yeah,
they will not. Those places are still going to be sold as landed properties eventually. So, but then we understand the whole dichotomy.
The Abuja master plan.
They will tell you that they will go build infrastructures and then make the place look nice and.
They just sell it to their gangs.
Thank you. So, but that's a place that they can recycle it and still bring in the same people that are living. Okay, we'll do this. Partner with developers and other organizations. Yeah. And then, but the government doesn't really have the people at heart. It boils down to this whole idea of let's keep them poor so we can use them.
But like you also said that it's the common men that run the economy. So
exactly,
they're not common men. They're not workforce. Workforce.
Well, I would want to use the word common man because it's
the masses.
That's the word. The masses are the ones that run the economy because these millionaires or the billionaires, they need cooks, they need cleaners, they need. So it's the common man that does all of this.
That's why they treat them like common people because they see them as these common people. They are workers. A bricklayer is a worker, is working.
Yes.
That's, and like I said, it's our collective consciousness as a people. We treat people based on their social status.
Yes.
Like a bricklayer.
Not as human beings.
Not as human beings.
Yes.
Because the bricklayer, you know how many houses he has built?
Exactly.
Accomplishments in bricklaying.
He's a craftsman.
He's a craftsman.
Yes.
You see what he has done, but to us, no, he's a nobody. Oh, Whiskey is somebody. Oh,
exactly.
that man. Mercedes Benz is somebody.
And we also forget that politicians and people in government, they are basically just caretakers of our commonwealth.
Okay.
They are caretakers of our commonwealth. So when we talk about subsidization of certain, pillars of society, pillars that power society, they make it look like they are doing us a favor. It is our commonwealth.
Exactly.
You are trying to subsidize education, subsidize housing, subsidize, make it easy for people to start business. You are subsidizing ease of doing business. Because at the end of the day, it will cascade into creating quantum effect in the economy at the end of the day, which we are all going to enjoy.
True.
And then you get the credits eventually.
You get the credit, So I don't know. And they're talking about subsidizing, removing subsidy of fuel.
Subsidy of fuel.
Things are meant to be subsidized for the citizens.
Of course, not only in Nigeria, a lot of countries in Europe, a lot of things are subsidized.
Okay, let's talk about the issues of subsidy. Like Mr. Femi said, you said that it's a collective effort. But then the masses, there's little to nothing that the masses can actually do. Because let's say, for instance, this issue of fuel subsidy, we know that when we had the fuel subsidy, we saw how it affected the economy. So we can't hold everybody accountable.
It didn't affect the economy. It was subsidy. What is happening in Nigeria?
All of the borrowing.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So if in a situation whereby there's constant subsidy and it just keeps taking from the pocket of the economy, but it's not reflecting in the society, or it's not reflecting where it's supposed to affect.
Like Ambassador said, the idea of subsidy in Nigeria is like reinventing. This removal is like reinventing the wheel. They are recreating and rebranding a scam. That's why even when it was removed, people were still now. When it wasn't removed, rather, now that it's removed, people are crying. Because at the end of the day, it was almost like it's non-existent. There is a video online that was trending that someone spoke about subsidy scam, but I don't want to go there now.
So because you made mention of in the UK, you said a lot of things are being subsidized.
Yeah, of course,
for the
in
people.
Europe.
So how much more subsidy can we have when we have these issues of constant scam? When we just mention a little subsidy, then it turns into something else. So I would say that at this point, maybe we should just take away all of the subsidy and try to...
The only thing that can happen when you do that is eventually anarchy.
Exactly.
But then the subsidies are not there.
It's a two-edged sword. The reason why it's looking like subsidization is wrong is because of heavy-handed corruption.
Exactly.
Okay.
Zero transparency.
Accountability and transparency are the ways to chaperone a ship to its destination.
Okay.
For instance, let's look at the oil industry. The oil companies, these expatriate oil companies, are, if you see the massive corruption that
milking us dry.
And then the people who are supposed to be checking them, heavily corrupt as well. The reason why chaos manifests in any society is because of the squandering of resources. Look at how corrupt a lot of politicians are. Look at how non-transparent the petroleum industry, oil and gas industry is.
Exactly.
We don't know how much money is being made.
Exactly.
Hence, you cannot know how much money is being stolen.
Backstage drama.
So it is resource squandering. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah.
That is leading us to the chaos, not subsidization.
Exactly. We have great policies in Nigeria, like Ambassadors. Subsidy removal happens in other countries. And what are we in Nigeria? What you have petrol, health, education.
Yeah.
A lot of these things should be subsidized.
Yeah.
But so that is not the problem. The problem now is the handlers, the people in charge. Are they transparent enough? Like the student loan is another policy. It's a great policy, but the way they administer it will now, and the way it is implemented, will not make a good policy look like a bad thing. But in itself, in principle, it is good.
Okay.
So it boils down to the people in government at the end of the day.
I'm going to have to ask you, because you've spoken so much about this issue of corruption. Now, how would the ordinary masses now hold this elite or people in the power responsible and demand accountability from them? Because it's not just hoping that people just become accountable. You have to demand it. So how do we now go about to demand this accountability?
First of all, they have to stop being ordinary.
Okay, how do you go about that?
By becoming economically and financially literate.
Exactly.
We now live in an age of decentralized everything. Somebody who came from nothing, came from abject poverty, if he or she gets his hands on the tools of this that is powering this current age. There are billionaires today who came from abject poverty.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about illegitimate billionaires. I'm talking about legit billionaires, right? Stop being an ordinary citizen. Like Mr. Femi will call it, become an active citizen, right? Initiate you're becoming economically and financially literate, such that you can speak the parlance of economics.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about going to school to study economics. I'm talking about the basics. We live in an economic planet right now. Before you came here, if you have a car, you have to fuel your car. If you didn't, you have to pay transport to come here. You are going to feel hungry very soon. That food, you bought it. Very soon, house rent will be calling. We live in an economic planet. So if you are still ordinary in an economic planet, you are going to become the economic victim. Right? So if you have enough citizens who are economically and financially literate, see, one thing that people are afraid of, the elite are afraid of, are folks who are economically and financially literate.
Exactly.
Because the only reason they control the elite, I'm not talking about general elite, political elite controls the people, is because the people are not economically and financially literate.
Yeah.
So first step, stop being ordinary. Stop
Okay.
being an ordinary citizen.
So when you are now economically and financially literate, what do you now do with that?
You will now control a fraction of the economy.
Okay.
That's the essence. You are not able to deploy your economic and financial literacy for setting up infrastructures that would no longer keep you becoming an economic puppet of the political elite.
Okay.
So the more of the citizens who gains control of a fraction of the economy, the less of the economy they can control.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the less of the economy they are controlling, the less power they have to wield over you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. But that still doesn't make them accountable, because what I'm talking about now is the accountability. I know that the more you take power from them, they don't have much, but the little that they have, how do we make them account for it?
If you're still at the mercy of anybody wielding economic power over you, they can do anything.
You're weak
Okay.
anyways. So.
Yeah, you are at their mercy. So when I address problems from a standpoint of the root cause, right? Cause and effect, right? I don't try to pamper the problem at the surface. It's just go to the roots. Nothing is stopping you. Yeah, see, we have this messianic syndrome, political messiah. We're looking for a political messiah, right? We're looking for, of course, generally people have religious messiahs, right? So they bring that is the mindset they use to run things. Stop giving them that much power.
Exactly.
Me, I'm not a fan of street protest. I'm literally at the mercy. Oh, okay, we hear you. I mean, okay. They can hear you today and refuse to hear you tomorrow. But if I'm wielding some kind of recognizable economic power, if they want to take decision, they'll think, that guy has some power. He controls that fraction of the economy.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they will call you to this. They will be the ones to call you that, okay, we want to take this decision. How far? But you see, if everybody is behaving like a common man, common woman, that's why they will treat you like a common
Masses.
All right. With that knowledge of economic power, I want to ask Mr. Femi, back to the real estate issue. Yes, I made a research recently about what we talked about the last time, housing in FCT. So there's this house I saw somewhere in Dusi. The landlord said the house was 400,000. Then I went to an agent. The agent brought me to that same house and said it was 500,000. And you mentioned something about something similar to this issue the last time we had this conversation, and said it was 500,000. Because you said, if I remember correctly, that agents.
You didn't say 700,000.
I thought you were going to say 700,000.
For me, maybe because I was aware, because of what you said the last time. And I did mention to him that, the landlord said 400. I just looked at him like, okay. But that was not what I heard from the landlord. And mind you, not the 500,000. The 500,000, then I am still going to pay agency fees.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what will happen to my 100,000. But I didn't want to have that conversation. I just wanted to understand what was going on. So the issue
Caution
now,
fee that never gets refunded.
Thank you. You never get refunded.
it's
You know
agents
what
that
now,
do
apart from caution fee, I heard something. Maintenance fee.
maintenance and legal fee, and there's a lot of them.
So see, the solution, like Ambassador said, it is important that we address issues from the root cause. The government, especially the FCT, people in charge of this, the agencies involved, we must have policies that would guide this, especially because last time I said that the services of the middlemen, agents, we cannot underestimate it.
True.
They run the economy.
Exactly. But then we must have guiding principles. We must have ethics. The new thing now is it was 5%. Then it moved to 10%. Nobody said it. It moved to 15. Do you know they are trying to bring in the 20% idea? And nobody is saying anything because they know that the government will not hold anybody. There are no agencies to regulate that.
Okay.
So the new FCT minister, this is like one of the things that he must look into, because somebody is paying 8 million naira for a house, and then the fees on the house is 4 million. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Sure. Do you have anything to say in that regard?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, a lot of awareness needs to be done. A lot of talks, a lot of public orientation or reorientation awareness campaigns should happen. How can you did not invest a dime in that property? and you want to collect 20%.
They do it all the time.
It's preposterous. You know, it just shows that that industry is void of ethics.
Exactly.
You know, and so proactive actions needs to be taken to ensure that you know, ideology, you know, that 10% should be enough for you.
Okay, because you made mention of being economically aware. So I'm wondering, what would somebody like me that's looking for a house, and I come to an agent and he says 500,000. If I didn't have access to this particular landlord, I wouldn't know that the house is 400.
Exactly.
So how does an ordinary Nigerian who is looking for an accommodation, because I feel like this is an FCT, I don't know if it happens in other regions.
You know, you've done your due diligence. I mean, there is no excuse for you not to do your due diligence as somebody looking to properly deploy your resource or part of your resource. Everything you do, you should do due diligence, right? Wherever house, somebody owns it. You can find out who owns this house.
What if the person is not accessible?
The thing about Abuja is a lot of property owners are
not even available.
They're not accessible.
They're not accessible. You may not see them. And that's why, like I said, the only thing that would, you know, regulate this is the government needs to come in. The government has neglected this aspect of the real estate industry.
Yeah.
You know, agents can just decide to do something.
Anything, put any figure.
Put any figure, you know. So it has to be regulated. So, and there has to be.
It's not being powered by greed.
Exactly. So there should be some partnership. Now, when that is done, property owners will also be involved. Like, so, okay, you are giving your property to this person.
Yeah.
Do they know the codes, the ethics, the things they are not meant to do and all that? That's the only way, because 80% of property owners, you will never see them.
And then there's also an opportunity for people who claim to be integrity conscious people to take up the responsibility and be integrity conscious agents.
Exactly.
All right.
You know, and then as they begin to, you know, build their brand, people will know them that, okay, go to this person, you'll get a good property, you know, it will not be, you know, overhyped, the price will not be overhyped. So we active citizenship too is part of
citizens also need to also look inwards. An unexamined life is not worth living. A lot of people, there is greed, there is a lot of greed, especially in this Abuja.
All right.
I took an agent. I'm selling a property for someone. Is 1.1 billion. I took an agent there that brought a buyer. The agent went behind me to the security guy of the house. Unknown to him, I have mandate to sell.
Yes.
You know, that's another thing. Orientation. They don't have orientation. So the owner of property called me and said, they said somebody that you brought to the place brought somebody to the house. Are you aware? I'm not aware, ma. He said, okay, I will tell him never to bring anybody to the place. So if she doesn't have integrity, probably would have closed that deal.
All right. Yeah. I'm so sorry we ran out of time, because I'm very sure that I have learned a lot from this conversation. And thank you so much, Stashion, for coming on the program. Thank you so much, Femi Jubal, for coming on the program again. It's always amazing to talk to you. Thank you so much for being on the program. And with that, we'll draw the curtain today on ABUJA 5, coming to you from the ABUJA studios of KAFTAN Television. So I come your way next time. I still remain Sandra Ago. Bye for now, and see you next time.